Hello and welcome to the Micro Music Podcast. I'm Tony King and I'm here as always with my co-host Anita Foxall. Good day, Anita. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Very well as well, thank you. Yeah, enjoying some Easter sunshine as we record this.
Yeah, frosty Easter sunshine.
So in the show today, we have got a chat with a band I think you're familiar with more than me, and I think you're a fan of the Lunatraktors, aren't you?
Yeah, it's one of the last bands I saw live before all the lockdown started, and I saw them at the Art House. It was a big surprise for me. I actually went to see Foot Long, and when I bought the ticket, one of the people at the Art House, Devon, told me, "You're going to love the Lunatraktors," and I said, "Yeah, I'll watch them because I paid for the ticket, so I intend to stay for the whole evening." And you should see the audience. Everybody was a little bit, amazed, and nobody could really speak. Even Rick and Joe, but they were a bit like, "Wow, this is very different and amazing." So they are a very, very good band to see live if you ever get the chance. You will know more throughout the chat that you will be able to see them live.
Yes, they do have plans, and we do talk about their plans. In fact, it's probably one of the most chatty interviews we've done. It's one of our longest interviews on the podcast so far.
Yeah.
And to put it delicately, there's not so much of us talking, I don't think.
Which is fine.
Oh, that's exactly as it should be.
Yeah. It was wonderful. No. I could just let them speak for a whole day and just sit back and relax.
It was a really fun chat. And we did cover quite a few interesting topics. So if you're listening to this, you are going to hear what broken folk is. And you're also going to hear a bit about Soviet-era farm machinery, which was a learning experience for me, at least.
Yeah. Who would say where the conversation would lead? But we just went with it.
We did indeed. But before we get into the conversation, we should probably just remind people that there are various other things that they can go see and listen to of ours. So they can, of course, subscribe to this podcast wherever you're listening to this from. And there's quite a good little back catalogue now. This is episode 17, so there's plenty more to go back and listen to. Where can we find your radio show that you recently recorded, Anita? Because I know that's out now because I've been listening to it.
Yes, it's the Riverside radio station, and it will be on my Facebook. I shared it in various other pages as well in the Write a Note group. So the recording is very long, but listen to it in chunks because it's great company. I've been listening to it while I work, even though I thought I went through all of this because I recorded it. But it's nice to listen to the songs and the pieces calmly when you're not rushed doing a show. So it's good company if you have 4 hours spare that you think, oh, how could I fill this? Just go and listen to it all. How are your radio shows going?
They're going really well, actually. Yeah. So still you can still find me on Wednesday evenings on Voice FM between 7 and 9, and on Fridays at 9 to 10 on The Bear. That's an online radio, thebear.live. Yeah, it's really fun to stand and play brilliant new music for an hour or two. There's no better way of spending an hour or two than having lots of loud, really good music. So you can't complain.
Yeah, I discovered one or two really good musicians that I wanted to know more about, and I've been listening to their stuff, so that's really good.
Brilliant. In that case, that is job done as far as I'm concerned.
Yes.
If there are more people out there listening and finding new bands, that's exactly what the shows are for. Yay, that's made me very happy. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Should we get on with the interview, as it was quite a long one, and we don't want to keep people listening to us for too long when there's interesting artists to hear from. Do you want to just quickly tell us who Lunatraktors are?
Yeah, definitely. So, we created a lot of anticipation, so here they are now. It was a long chat with the Lunatraktors, but you'll see it won't feel long at all. It was just lovely and bizarre and amazing. I was going to tell you who the Lunatraktors are, but they are going to do that themselves. So the Lunatraktors are Claire and Carly, and they're going to tell you all about who they are and what plans and all the things that Tony mentioned before. So here are the Lunatraktors.
To think that I've been humbled so, to spend my years stone breaking. was out of work and wanted some employment. He said, "You do. You stink of scent, mate. You've had too much enjoyment. Get over there to yonder hill, take from the heap a hammer, and 2 and 6 is all you'll pay. And mind you now, that's grammar. Oh, I'm 16,000 miles from home, and my heart is fairly aching to think that I've been humbled so to spend my years stone breaking. So I battered and whacked the whole of the day. By the evening I grew spiteful at the sight of it. I didn't know what to do. Well, I hadn't broke my hatful. Oh, just then the foreman, he comes along and he says, "You'll have to alter. You'll be getting no run of the store, but gosh, you'll never make your salsa." Oh, I'm 16,000 miles from home, and my heart is fairly aching to think, oh, that I've been humbled.
Today we have the Lunatraktors having a chat with us. It's Claire and Carly. Welcome and thank you for chatting with us this afternoon. How are you both?
Yeah, doing okay.
Yeah,
Not doing all right. One of those more up days than the down days. It's been a crazy year, all in all. So yeah.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. So, to kick us off, would you like to tell us who the Lunatraktors are?
Yeah, there's 2 of us. You can hear already. We're a folk band, or like a folk duo, I guess.
Yeah.
We call it broken folk because it's quite messed up in comparison to some folk. I think we really like trip hop rhythms and stuff from dance music, and we're really inspired by lots of different traditions and stuff. So we kind of strip things down to the voice and the rhythm, and then build them back up again.
Yeah. Our name originally came from the fact that we both individually, before we came together, observed that we attracted loons. We attracted crazy people. So that was actually the name why it formed. A lot of people think that we really like agricultural vehicles and the moon, which we also do.
We like both
but
of
the
those
original
things.
reason for the name was that we attracted loons, and we're certainly attracting more that we've got together.
Yeah, lots of crazy people.
Crazy people like it. Yeah.
Have you got a favourite kind of agricultural machinery?
Oh,
Tatra.
yeah, you're into a Tatra.
Tatra trucks.
I think I'd have to go with the plough.
The plough, the old-fashioned plough.
Just the old-fashioned plough.
What kind of plough?
Well, preferably one that's pulled by maybe a horse, or I don't want people to be pulling it now. I think that's a bit much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like a metal steel, like an iron plough, steel plough, wooden plough.
Yeah, I don't know if I can specify.
Yeah. I like the 6-wheel Tatra. That's the best truck.
Fair enough.
I'm going to have to ask what a Tatra truck is. Sorry.
There is a mountain in Slovakia, or there are a whole bunch of mountains called the Tatra, and there's also a vehicle manufacturing Soviet era vehicle company, actually way pre-Soviet. Tatra, they made loads of cars and stuff in the Czech and Slovak region, and they make a particularly robust truck.
Sounds amazing.
That's where we met, actually, when we originally met.
Not in a truck.
Not in a truck, but we met in Czech Republic in about 2013. And Claire was making their solo album. So, and they were looking for a percussionist, and we met in a bar one night. And then Claire asked me to hit stuff rhythmically over their very bendy rhythms. So yeah, well, that's how we started. And then
it's funny though, because we both grew up in the same part of Essex, but we met in Prague. So.
Yeah, and then we
That's
separated.
incredible.
We didn't see each other.
Yeah,
we actually got together and started the band in 2000 at the end of 2016, beginning of 2017.
Yeah, so it's really new.
So
it's a really new project.
So it's quite we've not been going
comparatively.
that long, really.
Yeah.
And all of those things lead back to your name. It's incredible, all the connections.
Yeah, the K in the tractors as well.
Yeah, that's why it's tractors
That's
with
why.
a K. It's the Slavic style tractor.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we're quite into the idea of it being sort of futuristic folk music, or like old fashioned from the future, like that kind of weird stuff that you get actually quite a lot in looking at Soviet era things, where it's kind of futuristic but also very old at the same time.
The broken folk thing, was that a conscious thing to do with folk music? Was it something you've heard before, or is it something you kind of invented yourselves?
I think we
were looking for a genre in a pub in Durham with a friend of ours who's a philosopher, and we were trying to come up with what genre then it might be.
And it felt like alt folk. There was just all the other kinds of folk felt a bit and then we just said broken folk, and it
because we quite like broken beat as a genre. And that kind of slippy approach to rhythm is really and then we were talking about the broken and how like pure folk, like when folk goes wrong, it's all about purity, ethno-nationalist fascist purity, the people of the land and all that kind of creepy stuff. So that like what the purest of English folk, which is of course always nonsense. Folk's always a hybrid form. Even when it's extremely regional, musicians always traveled around and passed ideas to each other, and songs, you find the same folk songs for 1,000 miles in every direction. That's how it works. Folk is all about hybridity. And so we were interested in this idea about brokenness as a like opposite to purity, or an opposite to wholeness, and brokenness as a good thing, brokenness as a kind of fracturing as a kind of space of possibility.
Yeah, that to break something actually then, exactly, opens it up and reveals things, and things come through the cracks. I think this idea of this holding on to something and keeping it safe and keeping it new and keeping it precious is somehow where we're going a little bit wrong sometimes, perhaps.
The Lunatraktors are a band that's really worth watching on a stage. You really come up to life on the stage. How have you been coping this last year without any gigs? Have you done online gigs?
Yeah, we've done a few. We've lucky.
Done lots, actually. We've done loads of live streams. We're lucky, as you say.
We were really lucky to be given by the place where we were actually recording. They decided that they were going to do some live streams, and so they kind of invited us to be their guinea pigs to try out all their tech for the first time. And it was an isolated place. It felt very safe. There were almost no people there at all. It was just literally us, the very small team. And we've done probably a monthly live stream, which is amazing. It's been really nice to continue feeling like we have contact with our fans. It's definitely a different medium. So it's really not something that you can treat in the same way, I think. If you approach it from the perspective that it's theatre for camera, then I think you can do exciting things with it. But if you're just playing like you do in a gig, it's not going to work. I don't think it doesn't translate.
I think that's the great thing about live stream for us as well, because we're always doing weird stuff on stage, and it's always a bit like an 80s TV show as much as it is, like guys with t-shirts and electric guitars. It's not like that. So I think we're really lucky that actually our stuff translates to live stream really well. And also you have a lot of experience, Carly, with doing things for stage and TV and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, for me, that frame has always been a place. No, I'm originally, I've been a dancer all my life, but as a choreographer, you're always looking at the framing, whether it's a stage framing or if it's the framing of a camera. So that composition is really something that excites me. So I think once we got through the fact that once you stop a song, nobody claps. It's just a kind of tumbleweed silent moment. But if you really focus into where the audience are, which is inside that screen in that camera, and relate to that, then you really can have a real relation to the people again, and it can be really tangible. Energetics exist, we think of each other. That telepathy is a thing, like energy is a thing.
Wi-Fi is also a thing.
Wi-Fi is also a thing, which is very useful for live streaming. But I think we have missed that, just being able to hang out in a performance space.
We've missed the hugs. Meet people. We do a lot of hugging at our gigs. People do a lot of crying and laughing and stuff, and we've missed that. And actually, the best thing of the last 12 months or 18 months or whatever has been when we've done live and live stream at the same time. So there were a few gigs, like we did a gig in a forest glade last summer, in the kind of between lockdowns period. And that was live stream. So we had people online all over the world. In many places in the world, not huge numbers, but like we have people who are in Canada and people who are in Brazil and somebody tuning in from Mexico and Taiwan and all that stuff. And they were there able to see it. And our families were able to see it, but also there were a bunch of people picnicking on the grass in front of us, and that I think is a really amazing potential. And we love playing small venues as well, so that's also really amazing because you can still have that small venue vibe, but also people can still tune in from all over the place, and also they can catch up with it later if they missed the gig, or if they've got kids and they can't come out, if they're not very mobile or whatever it is that they, or they just really don't want to go out, or they live in another country, then they can still participate. And I really hope that keeps going after all this calms down. I think the live plus live stream culture, I think, is I'm really excited about that.
Yeah,
that's interesting. I think you're probably the first musicians we've spoken to that have seen it as a positive thing in that sense. Is that right, Anita? Because a few we've spoken to definitely haven't enjoyed the kind of lack of audience feedback and those kind of aspects of the live shows.
And I've even struggled creatively to come up with new music. So that's brilliant that it has helped you.
It's just a very different form. I think you have to embrace the fact that it's a different form, and you can't treat it like it's a live gig, because you don't get that instant feedback. You're not there with them, but you are there with them. They're just in their lounge.
Yeah.
And you're in a weird sealed off box, so as you get your head around that, that's actually, you can enjoy that.
I do feel like also we're particularly lucky in another way that our fans, because we don't have like a set that we play again and again, you know, like we don't get tour an album or something. We have like a whole bunch of songs, and we pick and choose depending on the story we want to tell or the venue that we're in or whatever.
And there's a lot of improvisation that's always within that mix.
Yeah. So which there is in lots, like the folk music is full of improvisation, or always, or should be. But the great thing is we have a lot of really dedicated fans who keep coming back, and keep donating. And that means that our live streams are rewarding as well in that way, that actually we've been paid for some live streams as well as we have been for live gigs. And I think a lot of people have struggled where, like at the beginning of lockdown, people started paying for donating to live streams, but then that really tailed off for a lot of bands. So a lot of bands have gone for months and months and months with people making like 30 quid from a gig or something, which is, appalling. But I think it's also, so I think we're lucky like that as well. We have lots of dedicated fans who keep putting their hands in their pockets for us.
But I also think that's not just entirely luck. I mean, knowing, having grown up in theatre, it's you have to contact those people. You have to reach out to people personally, invite them to your show. You have to then ask how they are, and after the gig, they want to tell you how they enjoyed it, and they want to also tell you how they are, and you want to have a chat. You have to relate to your people and your fan base as real people, and people that you care for as they care for you. And that kind of housekeeping, or that's for me one of those fundamentals of making really effective theatre or performance or whatever.
It's a community thing.
You have to address the community personally, and I think a lot of musicians think that just by posting the thing on social media, that naturally everybody's going to somehow turn up.
Yeah,
and it's very disappointing when they don't. But you have to treat it as an experience. If you were going to ask them for a ticket to come to see an amazing immersive theatre show, then you would want some kind of dialogue. You would want an email, a confirmation, wouldn't you? You'd want to, some kind of conversation about it, and not just, I put this out here, I presume that you're going to come.
Yeah, it's not the same as just having a pub where people turn up. It's a
you haven't got a captive audience.
It's a different game, and I think that's the other thing, that because of your background, Carly, in theatre, I think that also really helps us.
It's important. That's really important to me. That's really, really important. And one of our things is at the moment, we in terms of our merch, is that we make our own chili sauce. And so I've been going around in this year making a batch of chili sauce and going to people's doorsteps and having a chat on the doorstep, and they have a bit of therapy, I have a bit of therapy, they get a lovely chili sauce. Maybe they occasionally buy a CD, but mostly not. They just love the chili sauce and have a lovely chat.
Yeah, we have a lot of addicts now.
We have quite a lot of addicted people to smoky chili sauce, but that kind of contact.
What's the secret of your chili sauce then? Sounds amazing.
There's lots of nuts in there as well.
Sounds lovely.
Smoked morita chilies, Mexican smoked chilies. That's the secret.
So that's the side hustle, basically, at the moment.
It's all side hustle. There's no central hustle. It's all side hustle.
Yeah, exactly.
You're definitely the first band, I think, who's had a food product on their merch list. That's amazing.
It's actually it's just a novelty item. We're not a licensed food.
No, exactly.
Purveyor.
But we also give out our plants and whatever. People, it's a family
whatever
thing.
We can sell to people, we sell it to them.
It's a sharing. It's not just a passive thing. I don't think offering people music is not just that then you expect them just to listen. You're inviting people to feel something. Them feeling something then also makes you feel something. Like it's a reciprocal, cyclical act of exchange.
It was really fun, actually. We did the show just before lockdown, the show that we caught COVID at. We did a show at the Theatre Royal in Margate, which is it's the second oldest theatre in the country, and it's amazing in there. It's really tatty, like with bits of plaster held on with duct tape and stuff. But we did this show called Moonfest, where we had a whole bunch of other wonderful musicians working all together, and then it was basically like a kind of variety show thing that we put on. And part of that was that we made a dance that people could do in their seats to this Edwardian music hall song that we did a version of. And actually it's such a great song, and it's about the moon. We do like moons. And it's very recently out of copyright, which is also very handy. But the that thing about everyone or almost everybody in the audience doing the actions, something I would have hated as a child. Actually, I had a real aversion to group stuff. I'm not usually one of the group. I think that's why.
No, I think possibly neither of us were.
Yeah, but the
luckily we found each other.
But yeah, and some stuff that we did. We did this TED talk the other year where we got people singing along and doing body percussion together as a group. And I'd love to do more of that. I think that we there's a lot of stuff to explore.
Yeah, I think the interaction is really magic, because for me, it's about allowing people to also realize their own potentials, to make their own music, to find their voice, to express something through their body. We're incredibly literally locked down times when our bodies are suffering, and we don't know how to process all this emotion and all this bad news and all this grief. And, where do we go? We can't even go to the funeral of our family who died. It's so extreme, the time and the amount of pressure on everybody. And I think allowing people to access their bodies, get in tune with their bodies, get inside them and use their voice, slap their bodies, make some sound, I think it's really activating for people. Because
we both actually have been teachers for a really long time. And so when we started Lunatraktors, we started running workshops together, and that's extremely fun. So a lot of what we do, sometimes at festivals as well, we run workshops there, and we do choreography together sometimes for groups.
Yeah. There's a lot of different hats that we wear.
You usually use a lot of different props as well on stage, don't you?
I think it just depends what it feels like makes sense for the piece. And there's a lot of different pieces, and there's a lot of different potential sounds to make.
Yeah, we like to.
And there's a lot of different clothes you could potentially wear.
It's kind of stupid because we made up the project as this idea of stripping everything down, so it was just voice and body percussion. And now we have so much junk. Like our flat is like a huge wardrobe department, theatre wardrobe department now. But yeah, it's partly because we really love dressing up. So we just like a lot of it is just an excuse to change outfits or
to transform. When you put on a different hat, you put on a different coat, you can become a different person. I think a lot of the stories, especially with your perspective, from what you're singing, you're changing character during a song, perhaps 3 or 4 times, back and forth, flipping back, and to be able to shift into a character. I think
I haven't done a song where I put different hats on for different voices. That would be
great. I think we need to go there.
That might be quite interesting. I quite like. I don't know if you know the cartoon Mr. Ben from the.
Of course, yeah. That was a big part of my childhood.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Same. Yeah, it's about that. But also, yeah, this thing about objects having a voice.
Having some kind of essence.
So everything that we
spirit,
bring with us, everything on the stage has its own, is like a character somehow, or has its own like mood that we want to get involved.
Yeah.
Do you think of yourselves as musicians then, or performance artists, or something else? Because you talked about a lot of different skills that you have there, and a lot of different ways that you put on a show. So are you musicians or something else?
I mean, I can't read music, so.
No, I can read music, but I mean, I don't think I could necessarily score something very well. I think I'd have to consult some kind of books to do it really well, to do it really thoroughly. I think we are musicians. I think I've for a long time kind of shied away from it being like, no, I just hit stuff and I dance around. And I play music with my feet, and I think we can sort of step away from the terms. But I think we are musicians, and I think we're also stepping into the role of being curators and makers of experiences. We both love to make installation, and we both love to make film. And
that's what we've started as well, actually, over the last year when we're not able to do so many gigs as we've started making films. So we work. We've done a couple, and now we've got some music videos that we're making right now. So, because you used to be a film artist, like back when you were a
that
student.
was kind of what I did when I was learning choreography, integrated with installation, with light design, with sound design, with whatever. So I feel like
my PhD's in fine art, and I studied literature first of all, and then did a whole bunch of art stuff. So I used to make installation art. That was the thing that I mostly did. So in a way, like, I guess think of myself more as an artist than a musician.
Yeah,
but I think I'm a singer probably.
Yeah,
mostly.
and also you're very much a researcher, and I think what the thread was where I was going was that we're also kind of stepping into our these sort of strange role that we seem to have been given at the moment about being composers. Because it's another thing as people, who perform it, you don't necessarily want to claim that title because it feels like it's very serious and you should have also studied for that. And we've been asked recently, and we're currently doing every other Thursday with an amazing cellist called Claire O'Connell. And we're bringing kind of compositional ideas to her. We're getting her to asking her to do things that she's never even tried with the cello. And she's astonishingly amazing chamber orchestra player.
She plays all kinds of crazy stuff.
And with a lady from the opera, so
it's run by a local opera company called Fat Lady Opera. And they invited us to be part of it. And that was really nice to be invited to compose and to, because it then allows you to try on that hat a little bit and go, can we call ourselves composers? I mean, we make new music, and
we're making soundscapes. We're making things that other people would call absolutely composition and would call like the La piece at the moment is absolutely, it's a composed piece. But we always feel like we're just kind of channeling something and improvising somehow.
Messing around.
We think through it, we're feeling it and thinking through for months or whatever. We're singing and humming and beating away at it, and then all of a sudden it just comes. And so that's maybe, it doesn't feel like it should be composition, feels like
it's not very well composed.
No,
it's not very like composed.
We're not official.
It's a lot messier. It's
actually,
a lot messier than that. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's a very long answer to your question.
Yeah,
I guess
very long answer. We're the kings and queens, the queens and queens, and the dukes of the long answers. By the way, sorry for that. How much time have we got?
So the thing that Collie just mentioned, which we should probably explain because nobody's going to understand what you mean by the La thing. There's a small Roman statuette, bronze statuette from the British Roman period called a La, which is like a household god, and Kent Medway Museums kind of put an open call out on the internet about sound artists who wanted to create pieces about this little Roman statuette. So we applied for that, and actually we're also doing a bunch of stuff. We're doing some stuff about a Bronze Age hoard of like 60 kilograms of bronze that was discovered in a field, like axe heads and stuff in Kent. So we're doing quite a lot, and we work with artists quite a lot. So we're doing quite a lot of stuff which is more like heritage based stuff, making songs about bronze axe heads and things.
And people seem to be excited by the idea that we, as a couple of weirdos, can bring a subject that otherwise would be in a museum and feel a bit like not
Dry.
accessible and dry to people that might be like, oh, actually, that's quite exciting. Look, they made something. Look, because I think music does that, doesn't it? It touches you on levels that you don't have to maybe engage your brain with. You don't have to read text. You don't have to read the label. You don't have to understand the history and the context.
You can, and it also might make you, it might like entice you to do a bit more kind of studying about something, or a bit more talking or thinking about something. So that's the plan, like tempting people into caring about stuff. Yeah, that seems to be one of our little roles at the moment, isn't it? Quite an enjoyable role, actually.
You enjoy taking all these different challenges.
Absolutely. It gets a bit overwhelming though, because we have to make a lot of lists and then try and keep on top of everything, because otherwise you realize that there's various commissions and small things that are kind of hanging, and then you need to seal them up.
We also don't have a manager or a producer or a director or anything. And actually, so a lot of the time we're doing everything. And actually, some of the live streams we've done some live stream from here, which also means that we're doing the sound tech as well as everything else, costume and directing and managing and admin and promo and design. We do all our own design work, graphic design work. We make all the artwork for our albums.
Become experts in every area.
We're sort of jack of all trades.
You end up becoming that, I think. If you want to self-manage and you don't want to then be pigeonholed or pushed into certain boxes that somebody else would believe, you should approach it from this direction. I think after a long career in dance, being a dancer, being a kind of an object for other people's manipulation somehow, being used for your skills as a woman in entertainment, and feeling at the end of it a little bit like, but I didn't really get the rest, the kind of the business that followed that. I didn't make that contact in the end with the other people, and I didn't end up with the next job, the next opportunities. Somebody else benefited from my massive energy expenditure.
Yeah.
And I think we're at the point now.
You made the piece, but your name wasn't on it.
Like I'm in my early 40s, and I'm at the point now where I'm like, no, I want to do it this way. And that's very, very broad. That's very fluid. But I want to be the one that's calling, the shots on what we do, and not having loads of other people trying to push me into spaces that I don't want to be in.
And I think the other thing is, it sounds quite complicated and varied, but we're doing the same thing, whether it's working with sound or with a camera or with dance or with like ink or, whatever it is. It's the same thing we're doing, but we're just using loads of different stuff.
It's just about which medium suits the idea. No, I think there's different medium will make sense for different feelings, different expression. So, that's how we approach
Just
it.
quickly, a question about your music, about what you've done over lockdown. You released an EP called Bonefires.
Yeah.
And there is a new song. Well, you released the radio version of one of the songs, Unquiet Grave. So do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, we've been working a lot of the songs. Well, so over lockdown, basically, we decided that we would record an album. So finish. I mean, we had one planned anyway, but we finished that, and we wanted it to be out on the kind of Halloween kind of period, but it wasn't ready. So we decided to release the EP, and actually that song Unquiet Grave is also going to be on the new album, which comes out on the summer solstice. But it's good to mention things like that. It's a song which is like has very old elements to it, but is a kind of blend that we made of lots of different versions from different archives. Because I love, as Collie said, I really love researching stuff. So I'm always like poking around in broadsheet ballad archives from like the 1700s and 1800s and reading loads of obscure things. And so the Unquiet Grave is also connected to a couple of different songs about industrial accidents. One of them being Lost Jimmy Whalen or Jimmy Phelan, which is about a guy who dies logging in Canada, or British Columbia maybe. And then there's the Blantyre explosion, which is about a horrible mining disaster in Scotland. And there's kind of similarities with The Unquiet Grave in both of those songs, like this much older, centuries older, more kind of mythological song. And I wanted to write, we're really very, very continue to be very upset about austerity and the cuts to social services and how many people have died through that kind of institutional neglect and the abuse, the hostile environment, abusing people and driving people to kill themselves.
Yeah.
Not to put too fine a point on it. Many, 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 many thousands of people driving them to kill themselves and seeing that as a kind of industrial accident in a way, seeing that as a kind of systemic problem, a health and safety problem, that people die in a mine because it's not safe enough and people cut corners and that's why those accidents happen. And that's the same thing. There's this ongoing
Grenfell, no?
And Grenfell is very similar to that. There's this ongoing nationwide industrial accident, perpetrated by the Conservative Party and their systematic intentional neglect of vulnerable people. So so I kind of rewrote the lyrics to be about this absolutely appalling story, a person that I read which just stuck in my mind of a lady called Elaine Christian who where you can hear in the song what happens to her. But her story just stuck in my mind as a really emblematic kind of a kind of poster child of austerity and what that does. And if I had more verses, we try and keep the length down now in the desperate hope of BBC introducing ever noticing us, which seems very unlikely.
I think that ship sailed.
That ship may have sailed. Yeah, I mean, we managed to get Mojo top 10 listed and never played by introducing, which I think must be a first. But
I'm not going to make really short songs just so that the radio plays them.
Yeah, but also I do have to restrain myself from making songs with 50 verses.
I just wanted to bring up that you've been doing all these live online streaming, but you're going to have a gig very soon in July at the Art House, which is going to be a hybrid gig where you're going to be playing live for a few people and also it will also be transmitted online. So
yeah, exactly. 31st of July. Yeah, that's really exciting. And I think they're going to be set up for being really COVID safe. We've had a few, that's kind of the only gigs I think we're going to end up doing this year are going to be either outside or in places that are really sorted for it, because it's difficult to commit to a gig and then get let down. Yeah. So yeah, we're really excited for that. And it was lovely, the last gig we had there. So, and the people are lovely. Yanni's amazing. And so is Devin. So we're really excited to return there.
We're great with that. And I think there are going to be a couple of other ones before that.
Yeah, we haven't confirmed everything yet.
But yeah, hopefully
there will be a kind of album release tour.
Some real gigs. I mean, they're all real gigs, but some gigs with people there.
Yeah, it's nice to have people again, isn't it? Yeah. And hugs. Yeah. Hopefully we can hug.
Lonely, I walk by the banks of a river, watching the waters as evening drew nigh. All night I wondered, then I spied another, weeping and wailing with many a sigh. She is weeping for one who is now lying lonely, weeping for one whom no mortal can save. The dark swirling waters around her encircle, calling to us from the unquiet grave. Come bring us a light out of the darkness, bring us some water out of a stone, bring back a blossom that's withered and fallen, justice from those that call Westminster home. Cold blows the winter night down by the river. Cold as the grave are the first drops of rain. Cold as the hearts that assess work and pension. Cold as the lips are of poor dead Elaine.
So these are the Lunatraktors. I hope you enjoyed this conversation we had with them. Don't forget, like they mentioned, there's going to be a show at the Art House in July, which is going to be a hybrid one. You can either buy a ticket to see them there live or from home, wherever you feel the most comfortable. Also, check them out on YouTube. They've got a lot of videos there. Their new video, Unquiet Grave, is there. You can check them on Bandcamp, buy their albums. They're all there as well. Their new album is coming out the 31st of July. It's called The Missing Star, so keep your eyes open for all of that.
Brilliant, that sounds good. And we should also apologise to the Lunatraktors for not checking that they're okay after they just casually dropped into one answers that they caught COVID during the last year, and we just totally ignored that bit and carried on chatting. So we really hope they're both okay, and they were fine after that with no adverse effects. But yeah, we kind of missed that one during the chat.
We just realised we had been a bit rude, but we just got carried away with the conversation and we forgot to ask completely. But we hope dearly that you are well and recovered. You seemed well, so that's probably why we forgot to ask. So I hope you continue to be well and are even better in July when we see you.
And it was a really lovely conversation. It was great fun.
It was great fun.
So that probably brings us to the end of this podcast. We will be back very soon with some more interesting chat, news and music. So we should probably say goodbye.
Yeah, so hopefully not only that, but maybe even already some gigs that are planned for the various venues out there. Let's hope for that, and we will chat to you very soon.
Justice from those that call Westminster home. Seek justice from those that call Westminster home. Seek justice from those that call Westminster home.